Hey guys, welcome back to another exciting episode of YOML. This is the year of magical learning. Today we are going to skip another book to another two-part reflection. I mean, this one reflection title has a quote in it, so I think I don't know if this is one of the other one where you trying to pull my leg, but we
No,
want to
no.
talk about the competitive Buddha.
Y- Yeah, this is actually a really fun book. The Competitive Buddha is written by the author Jerry Lynch. So I guess this guy helps guide teams through coaching and mental kind of training and things like that. Anyway, he's an interesting guy. He's been working with like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of teams over the course of their lifetimes, and he's kind of compiled his notes into a lot of different books, but this particular book was called The Competitive Buddha, which is about mastery, leadership, spirituality, and the Kobe Bryant Mamba mentality. Do you know who Kobe is and his Mamba mentality thing?
Don't know about Mamba mentality. I know who
So
Kobe was.
Kobe's spiritual animal was the black mamba snake. He called himself the black mamba. That was the Mamba mentality was his catchphrase. He's a killer, you know. He embodied the spirit. My spirit animal is a lion and a
Mm.
raccoon. His is the mamba. It's all about the Buddhism approach to competition and mastering athletics and life and things like that. So it's actually a really interesting book. I know it's kind of funny because the title is a bit of an oxymoron because it's, the competitive Buddha. Well, they're two.
I mean, the
Yeah.
opposite ends exactly.
Right. So the reason why this reflection title is called "This Buddhism Stuff Really Works" is this is a quote by Michael Jordan. Phil Jackson, his coach, the famous coach for the Chicago Bulls that won 6 titles, coaching Michael Jordan. They called him the Zen master for a reason. Like he was really into Zen Buddhism and things like that. And he led with a lot of these kind of initiatives amongst his team and how he built team cultures, really helped to unlock more potential out of people by leveraging some concepts of the Buddhist lifestyle. Michael Jordan, this was a quote from him after they won one of their titles that Phil Jackson had been doing his Zen voodoo magic on them. And he was like, man, this Buddhism stuff really works, which is kind of funny in itself because it's such a contradictory statement because Buddhism isn't supposed to be work or doesn't work. It just is. The whole idea of Zen stuff in meditation isn't like making progress toward anything. If anything, it's about just being in the moment and being, understanding where you are. And so there is no really works, right? Because it doesn't go toward any outcome it's just funny because it's like a walking contradiction, like the statement, the book, but then again, humanity is kind of very much so a walking contradiction. We do certain things that make sense and at the same time don't make sense, so like that's why I kind of like really
Hmm.
enjoyed this book. Actually, it's kind of interesting. But what it made me think of personally is my entire life, like I've been, incredibly competitive. Like I am an incredibly competitive person. Like I used to always ask in any job interview when I was hiring for like, different teams that I've managed in my career. I thought this question was super clever and tricky because only if you're really competitive you would get it. And obviously I'm in sales, so like if there's any role where you want to be super competitive, sales is definitely one of those roles because you're going to get rejected a lot. So I was always looking for a very particular answer from this question that I would ask people because
Mm.
like it made sense, at least at that time in my life. I would always ask them like, hey, what is truer for you? Do you like winning more or do you hate losing more? Actually, I'm kind of curious, what would be your answer to that?
I think I would hate losing more.
That's the answer that I was always looking for. Is I would whenever I heard somebody say I like winning more, like that naturally made me think about, well, I don't really give a shit about winning. Like I really don't care about winning anything ever. Like winning is the expectation, is my thought. Like this is how a competitive person's mindset works. I don't care about winning. If I destroy somebody, if anything, I just feel bad. Like it doesn't give me joy at all to win. As a matter of fact, it might actually be negative joy. Well, that's what I was supposed to do. You know what I mean? It doesn't get my juices flowing. I guess my point is it doesn't inspire my elephant to act in any way, shape, or form. Like it's just you won, whatever. When I lose though, like it's all I can think about. It's all encompassing. Every emotion in my life, my elephant just like comes to life. I could be sitting in a literal party, life going on all around me, and I will be sitting there thinking about how I can get better at what I just failed at. I can't wait to go redo that again. How I can't wait for this next opportunity to go get, to go try to figure out if I can find a path forward. Like this is how my brain works. Like, I mean, for most of my life, my entire life, like this is, you talk about like, going toward your strengths or beaver must dam. This is who I am. Right. And I don't know why it started. I don't know how it started, but this is who I am. And, for most of my life, that manifested itself in a lot of different ways that I could deem as bad. Honestly, like let's just take tennis, for example, is what I talked a lot about in this book. If I lost a tennis match when I was younger, or even up until I was in my mid 30s before this journey with Amelia, I would literally go sit and just replay the entire match over and over and over and over in my mind. Like, I mean, I would walk away so effing mad that I messed up, or I didn't perform to the way that I wanted to perform, or that I didn't get the outcome that I wanted to get, because that's all I cared about was getting the outcome that I wanted to get. And I would bang my head against the wall. I would go play the match over and over again, literally, if I could. Ask any of my friends if I lost in a game, even if it's a stupid game of darts or something like that. I'll be like, let's go again. Let's go again. I will not stop until I figure out how to beat that person. They get annoyed. Eventually, they're just like, okay, I'm done. But I don't. I will literally go play forever until I achieved my goal of not losing, right? And I could finally break through, and I could get that, release of knowing that I didn't have to do it. So my problem, though, that I discovered while I was reading this book is that before Amelia, I really cared about outcomes a lot. I really cared about outcomes. Everything in my life was, did I hit my quota in my sales role? Did I achieve whatever goals were in my sales leadership roles? Did my teams get to where they wanted to get to? Did I win or lose the match? That's all I cared about, was the outcome of what that competitive thing did to me. And this book talked a little bit about something called the middle way, which is similar to a huge paradigm shift that I've had in my own life. It's a Buddhist principle called the middle way. And I'm trying to take a different approach in my life these days. And the middle way is not being fueled by the outcomes of the activities that you do, but being fueled by the values that drive them, right? Focusing only on that. So like nowadays, I don't really care if I lose or win a tennis match. I care if I lived my values or not. So meaning if I call the ball out, that was in, and then I have to like think about that, like that it violates my integrity. If I get frustrated with myself and I'm yelling at myself, and it violates the fact of having fun every single day, and trying to enjoy myself and playing, that's when I get mad at myself. Now that's when I feel like I've let myself down these days. Not if I won or lost a match. A part of me still cares a little bit, but like for the most part, I've done a really good job of breaking that habit of myself, because that habit was awful. Like, it made me want to quit tennis many times in my life. It made me want to quit sales many times in my life, because if I didn't get the outcome that I wanted to get, and I kept fighting and fighting, and that burning desire to not lose, it wasn't healthy for me. But what is healthy for me is to find a way to connect what I care about in the middle way of what I'm doing with the values that I care about. And then I always know that I'll feel fulfilled after I get done, with any one of those activities. This is kind of the competitive Buddha in me coming out. It's not that I'm not competitive still. I still like do my best, but my best now is actually that I align to my values better. Did I do what I said I care about most in this match? And did that come out through my actions, whether I'm leading a sales meeting, closing a deal, or on a tennis court, anything that I'm doing in life? Did I bring out my values? Not define, because that's my own definition of success, I guess, at that point in time, is I'm redefining what matters to me and the stuff that I do. So that's kind of the middle way, I guess, just in general. And the this Buddhism stuff really works as a title. It does work. I feel like I can make that sustainable. The middle way is sustainable for me. Winning and losing and living and dying by that isn't. Like, it's not fun eventually, and it hurts. So yeah, I'd love to get your thoughts.
Well, I think Buddhism and many of the things that we have to face is confusing. I think, how in the book Entrepreneur Roller Coaster, we were talking about the coach, say, you're missing the point, right? You're
Right.
competitive. Yeah, you're competitive, but you're missing the point. You know what I mean? Because like when we for whatever reason are conditioned to be outcome based. And because you have a competitive nature, you basically piggyback your competitive nature with an outcome. Say, hey, in order for me to be competitive, I have to be measuring using outcome. So for me, it makes me think about if we're only talking about outcome as the ultimate measure of success or whatever, right? So if somebody would say, if I were to give you an IV, right, and you don't need to eat, you don't need to drink anything, all you have to do is get an IV, that's an outcome. But why don't people do it?
Because it's not fun. I mean, I don't know.
It's not fulfilling.
It's not natural. Yeah, I don't know.
It's not fulfilling, but it's outcome based. So
Yeah.
the point I'm saying is we are missing the point by using outcome as an indicator of core values and what would fulfills us
What drives your actions, right?
Right. And so you look at that, right? And the example I give you, the analogy I give you is that if you say, outcome is the only indicator you need, then if somebody gives you an IV or somebody just put a little needle onto you and give you all the nutrients your body needs, you don't never have to eat again. Why don't people do that? And the thing is, they prefer not to because they need the feeling of satisfying of the belly. So it's the nature, right? The core values of their DNA say, hey, you need to be chewing, you need to be swallowing, you need to
Right.
be. So that's the fulfilling part. I mean, that's the part of the journey. It's part of the processing, right, of that whole system. So if you take that and extrapolate to the human world where many things are so dynamic and there are thousands of different combinations that you can put together, an outcome isn't what we're after. It's a fulfillment of the process that we do. So when you're
Right.
competitive, right, you have to be competitive to the point where am I competitive in a way that I am, having fun, challenging myself, maintaining integrity. So those core values you just say, right? And what I'm seeing, what you say is that having this core value to dictate the competitive, I guess, the boundary of what it is. And so
Right.
you're not missing the point and being competitive and say, hey, I'm competitive. The only ultimate indicator that I'm using is the outcome that I'm going to win, meaning I'm competitive. I lose, I'm
Right.
not competitive. So having the readjustment of the observation of your thinking and your applications of these core value, it what gives you the fulfillment. Because like I say, sometimes we miss the point because we
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
realize that having the outcome based and whatever we've been taught over the years as we grow up isn't the kind of target that we should be targeting. It's just that we happen to be inducted to think that having an outcome, having a goal is the right way. And through the learning that we did thus far through Company, we found that for me and for you, that isn't the case. And I'm guessing that for most people, it shouldn't be the case for them either. I just think
I don't think it's
whatever
ever the
we
case, like for anybody.
right
I think this is all about a
because
reframing of what drives me, right? Like
so
before, I was driven by just straight win or loss. Like that was it. That was the only. I didn't care how I played in the match. I didn't care if I was a total shithead. I didn't care if I didn't have any fun at all. I didn't care at all. Like all I cared was if I won or lost, right? Like, and that was how I defined what was going to drive me and propel me forward or not. Like that's not how I define my life anymore, and I don't want to define my life that way. That way is exhausting. It's not fulfilling, and it's exhausting.
right, it's not the
Right.
correct way, and there are many reasons. The first reason is people are different. I mean, they
Right.
say, oh, so there is not going to be a single answer that can give you, the right formula, the right alignment. And the second thing that I see is people give you the answer in a dynamic, in a wicked environment as we live in this society, right? Our society and our life and everything around us, it is a wicked environment. It's very dynamic, it's very in flux. But in order for us to explain something, we have to resort to using a tool. Like we said before, it's a tool to say, I'm using this kind environment where the rules apply to
Right.
measure. And that's what people do because how can somebody explain the answers or the concept without giving them so much information over many different like iterations for that person to understand what we're saying? If somebody had to distill something in the book, they're gonna have to find something that it's simple enough, but it's not quite accurate. And that's the reason why all these people are saying, well, in order for me to write a conclusion in my book to say, hey, the Buddha this or Buddha that or whatever else that they do, they're gonna have to use some simplicity. And these simplicity explanations are usually taken from a kind environment. That's
Mhm.
why it doesn't work. And so people taking these lessons from history and they keep passing it down. And what we happen to have is we have been indoctrinated with these things like our parents, our grandparents, and our ancestors have been taking clues and different pieces of evidence from society, from other people telling, hey, you should do this, just like daycare, for example. People, this is the way the culture works. You have to send your kids to daycare. Both of the parents have to work. That's what they're told, right? And
Right.
now, and today is like you have to have a job to get health care. If
Right.
you don't
Right.
have a job, you can't
Why?
get group insurance. We've been told many different things because it's an oversimplicity and oversimplifying the explanations to some of these things, and that is what gets passed down because that's the easiest to understand. In a wicked environment without a lot of patterns and rules, right? It's hard to say, hey, this thing works for you, and all you have to do is take this. That's why when we grow up without any self explorations, we always take whatever we were told. And like I said, we were told to be goal oriented. I mean, right now in today's society, even between me and you, right? We are looking at a society where majority of the people around us, even today, like they are goal oriented. They are rise, grind, and repeat kind of mantra. That's
Right.
what I see everywhere from not only from the TV, but in my own circle, like
Yeah.
my family, my friends, right? This is what they
It's all
do. I
about the
mean,
outcomes. Yeah.
it's always about competitive. How I have to be, I have to have good grades, I have to go to
Right.
good college, I have to get a good job. This is what we're being trained to think.
Yeah.
It's
All day.
always
All
outcome
day.
based,
Yeah.
all day and every day.
Yeah. That's all that we hear. If anything, you remember that book that I told you that I just read a couple weeks ago, like the 5 dysfunctions of a team? And you remember how I told you I was like struggling to write the reflection for this one? You're like, well, we had the conversation because I was like, I don't agree with anything that the book said, and I spewed something out, and then you were like, why? If you don't agree with it was a struggle for me to find some nugget of new knowledge in that book because I didn't agree with anything. And the reason why I didn't agree with anything was because that's how they defined success of their team as the outcomes that they produced. That's it. That's the only definition of success, was like if we hit our goals or don't hit our goals, and that's what we're all here to work together toward. And I was like, that's fundamentally wrong. Like the goals of any team, in my opinion, should be about shared purpose and mission and shared values and being able to go bring those things to life. And then whatever comes of that comes of that. Like how you want to define and measure that, I don't really give a shit, to be honest with you. Like that's not what momentum is. Like teams that have momentum are doing stuff that they naturally love to do, and that feeds their soul, right? Like winning and losing does not feed my soul. Like I can guarantee you that it drove me. Like don't get me wrong, it made me want to go feel a certain type of way, and I needed to unpack that because what I saw when I unpacked that in my own life through this whole journey over the past few years is I do love to challenge myself. And that's one of the things, is losing as a challenge, right? You're like, oh, well, like it's fun. I get to go problem solve. Like, how do I win this thing? So that's focusing on challenging for me. That's a way to redefine that for my values. Or, when I'm like, playing in a tennis match, it's fun. It's just fun. Like I love playing, just being able to play, like whatever, how you want to define that, like it's play for me. And I love just to just play and have fun. Like, I mean, that's fun for me. I love to learn. Like there's nothing better to learn on than a match that you lost in, like, because you can go, what did I do wrong? How do I get better at this? I don't look at a loss anymore as something that frustrates me. I go, what could I have done better? Why did I lose that match? How can I, what areas can I go work on to go get better in my game? Because that's what matters to me. That's why I go work really hard on my backhand, so I can get back to my forehand, which is another lesson we'll talk about down the road. For a long time, I was just working on my backhand because I thought that was, what I needed to fully get better at and make that equivalent to my forehand. But that's not going to happen. Naturally, my forehand is just naturally always going to be better than my backhand, and the reason why you work on a backhand is to get back to your forehand, right? Not to now have another weapon in your arsenal. It'll never be as good. I don't care how much time I spend on it. It'll never be as good as my beautiful forehand, and I love hitting my forehand. So it's solve the problem that is preventing me from getting back to my forehand, my strengths, I guess is what I'm saying, versus, now, anyway, I'll save that conversation for another day. But I guess what I'm getting at, in a roundabout sort of way here is, when you do stuff because you love it and because it's fulfilling and rewarding, it is something you'll continue to find a way to do it for forever, like versus when you only look at outcomes, it's just not sustainable. Like, I mean, eventually you're going to have a bad outcome, or eventually you're going to have a good outcome. And eventually,
It's a once and done, because the thing is that's not something that you find fulfilling. And that's the thing is, everybody is giving you this universal target. This target, and meaning like you should be outcome based. It's universal. Everybody's looking at the same target, but we're saying that everybody's different, and the way you find fulfillment is different for everybody. So how can many person have the same target? That's where the that comes in. Is everybody, the gurus and societies tell you, hey, target, this is your target. Everybody need to be targeting this, but you're different. You're a different species. You're a different animal. You're different, unique perspective, and what you do is gonna have different fulfillment requirement, right? You're fulfilling because it aligns with who you are and how your genes is able to thrive in those environments. Just like we're back to what we say about the beaver. The lion is say, I'm fulfilling when I'm in the cave.
Right.
You
The
know,
outcomes just happen.
the outcome and the outcome happens, but the outcome is gonna vary differently. And whether the outcome is in the same way or not, the perspective of whether that is an indicator of fulfillment is also going to be different for different animals. And it's same thing for us. And if we were to say split ourselves into multitudes of different groupings of humans, we have different perspective and different genes allow us to find different things fulfilling. So meaning that whatever we're told, whatever we oversimplify as an answer, usually isn't the target that we're after. And so when you do that, even if you're competitive and you say, I'm achieving this. When you achieve it, right, then you don't want to do it again. It's not fun for me. So why would I want to go through it again? The reward of achieving it again isn't as desirable as before. It diminishes.
It's irrelevant, actually. I mean, if anything, winning is so boring. Like, it's so boring. I don't actually even know how Novak Djokovic or Rafa Nadal, people like that have won so many titles in their careers. Like, I don't know how they would continue to derive their enjoyment of the game.
I don't think you can unless you like tennis. I mean, to me, winning is just part of the game. It's like sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Right.
To me, it's like when I do something, and if it's important to me, whether I did it or I didn't, it doesn't matter. If you like to run, you go out there and you run, whether you come in first or you come in last, I mean, you still enjoy the run. And so the outcome of being first and the outcome of being last, it matters very little. To you, it's almost irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
In terms of, hey, I came in first or I came in last, right? Because if you only targeting coming in first as your outcome, you're gonna strive, and the moment you get in first, you don't want to do it again.
Well, it's one of the reasons why I stopped getting better at my backhand. That's one of the reasons why I stopped improving in my tennis game, because I won all the time when I was younger. And then eventually I was like, well, this is boring. And then other people eventually passed me by, but I didn't ever have to actually often play those people. It wasn't like I was playing ATP level competition or something like that. It was like my people around me, I was better than them, and that was good enough, And I mean, it's not like I was unbeatable or something like that. By the time I was playing one singles in high school or whatever, yeah, I definitely lost a few matches here and there, and whatever. But like, I didn't care anymore. I was like, I'd solve this problem. I'd solve this hurdle, right? Like,
I mean, the thing is,
and it makes you stop getting better.
That's the thing, is the fulfillment is the driver. The fulfillment is the point. If you are not doing something to fulfill your human being, right? Meaning you have to fulfill that human being. Meaning like, hey, I'm asking you, hey, why would you eat food with different flavors if bread and water would give you sustainment? I mean, you know what I mean? But I mean, that's a simple question, because it's not about the outcome. Hey, I got all the nutrients I need.
Right.
You eat some bread and water and swallow some vitamins. You get everything you need.
Right. That's not why you eat. Like, you
why you want a pepperoni?
Social,
right. You eat because your fulfillment of who you are. If you are a food lover, then you love to try different foodie, right? Or if you are a social creature, then you want to eat to socialize. It's just like I told you about drinking coffee. I didn't drink coffee, and you go to Starbucks, right? It tastes good because you have good company, right? And so that's the thing, is that's the fulfillment. Anything you do fulfillment, you want to do it again. Because I go to Starbucks almost like 3 times a day, and it's not like I do anything different. It's the same thing, right?
Was it like right next to your house? Like, I mean, is it like a 2-minute drive?
You can walk
okay, all right. I was gonna say, Jesus Christ, if you had to drive like 10 minutes to go, I was like, how do you find time for that? Like, to go like.
No, when I was before I quit the coffee, like I know every Starbucks that's around me.
Like
any building
junkie.
When there's no Starbucks, I know Seattle's best. I go to the same. I order the same thing. It's a venti vanilla latte.
Right.
It's not any different, but
Right.
I do it over and over again. Fulfillment is having people there to chit chat about things you care about. It's the
Right.
company. And that to me is the point. Right? You don't want to miss the point. The point is you are of a different genetic makeup. Whatever fulfills you is going to give you the continuing sustainment to redo that over and over. And the more you enjoy, it's going to increase your exploration and discovery of whatever topic or arena that you pursue. And I
Right.
think that is what the point is. It doesn't matter if I drink 10 cups or I drink 1 cup or whatever, every, 3 times a day, but by myself. I don't think I can continue to do it
Right.
because the outcome's still there. I'm still getting my cup of coffee. I'm still getting my venti vanilla latte. I still get it 3 times a day. But if I went there by myself, then there's no fulfillment. I don't think I would continue. But because
Right.
there's people there that I like to discuss and chat with, then I go there and I don't even remember the taste of the coffee. But
Yeah.
I remember having a positive fulfillment on it. But that's the thing is when you're doing something for the outcome, you're missing the point. It isn't what it is you measure.
Right.
Your indicators are the wrong indicator. It's just what they call like vanity metrics, right? It's not really directly because of what you did. It's just some metric that you decide to use that as a tie to what you do. And having that, you totally miss the point.
Agreed. There's two things that I wanted to make sure I touched on real fast. The middle way is not easy, by the way. Just so I'm clear about this, it's easy to get driven by the outcome. That was kind of what I was trying to get at the beginning of this conversation. For whatever weird reason, it was easy to do this stuff. The middle way is not easy to figure out why you care about, what you care about, what makes that activity rewarding for you is not easy. But then second to that is once you even try to go down that road. So this is something that I've been struggling with, and only until recently have I kind of broken through a little bit in my understanding around this. So when I started to go down this road of exploring values, bringing that out in the activities you do and finding the middle way and being the competitive Buddha, like in a roundabout sort of way, I've been doing this stuff for years now. One of the things that I've noticed is it doesn't mean you don't care anymore, right? So when I first started going, well, if I detach from the outcome, then I guess that means I don't care. So I would go into a match or like I'd go into an activity and I'm like, I don't really care what happens, it's fine. Just bring out your values and yada, yada, yada. Well, that's not the same thing either, right?
It's the rider versus the elephant, right?
Well, the middle way is really challenging because it's not just detaching from the reality in front of you. Like the reality is you still are in a competitive match, right? You can't detach from that. That's not what detaching from outcomes means. It just means attaching to the stuff that you really care about in that match, right? Like it's like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is when I started to take the middle way, my thought process immediately going into any match was, well, I don't care. The middle way is not don't care. It's just care about different stuff in the match. And then whatever happens,
Well, that's
happens.
the point, right? You
Right.
have to use the metric that matters, not vanity metrics. This is what I'm
Exactly.
saying is what is it that matters to you?
Exactly.
Not any other metric that doesn't matter to you. It's just vanity metrics.
Right.
Because you're missing the point. What's the point of doing something? What's the point of playing competitively? What's the point of making a bunch of money? There
Right.
is a point. That point means the thing that matters to you. And that point is going to be different for different people.
Correct.
If the middle way isn't doing the opposite of what you're doing, that's not like that at all.
It's
Doing it
for
for
what
the
you
sake
care about. Right.
of things that matters to you.
I want to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. Like it wasn't walking into a match and saying, well, I don't care about the outcome is not the same thing as doing the middle way.
No,
Right?
it's
Right.
care about different outcome.
So
Because I told you about you walking with your wife, right?
right.
Are you there to walk or are you there to have company? What we do is we look at the first order thinking. What are we doing? We're walking. Or we walk farther. We're being competitive. But
Well,
the thing is, it doesn't matter because for you, it's like, well, if I'm taking a walk with my wife, it isn't like how far I walk or how fast I walk as a metric of measuring what importance to me, what it matters to me. It is the outcome of spending the company of somebody you want to be with. That's the outcome. It's a different outcome. It's not about not having outcome. It's about a different outcome. The point is
right.
different, right?
Yes, exactly. There's times
When you build an empire, just like in the entrepreneur roller coaster, right? The guy was talking to the coach in his deathbed, say,
That was
"Hey,
the point. Yeah.
don't miss the point, right? What's the point of hustling and bustling and doing all that? What's the point? And so the outcome for every person is going to be different. Whatever that is, using that as a metric.
Right.
Don't use this metric that universally is accepted by society, because chances are it's not yours. It doesn't matter to you.
Like
you were told it matters, and you thought to yourself it matters. But when you achieve these metrics, it didn't give you fulfillment. Therefore, you say, winning the Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, I won the French Open. I'm number one in the world. I don't care. This is what I remember. I've told this line before from Andre Agassi's book many times. He was like walking around the streets of Paris after he won the French Open and became number one in the world. And he was like, this is it. That was the start of his downward decline, where he was like, well, shit, if this is it, all that work was for this. This sucks.
It's not worth it. It's not worth the sacrifice he made. You know, that's what I'm saying is, anything that doesn't give you fulfillment, you're missing the point. And therefore, that's what I'm saying is, it's once and done, because you are striving to achieve this goal, thinking that's going to give you the fulfillment that you thought it would. But when you get there, it didn't give you, because it wasn't directly a response from what matters to you. Therefore, you say, well, I get nothing out of it. I didn't feel a thing.
Right.
I didn't feel a single thing. Then that means that the achievement and the sacrifice you made along the way wasn't worth it. So if it asks you to do it again, say, no, I don't want to do it. That's once and done. Because once you achieve the goal, and you found that the reward for achieving the goal wasn't worth the effort and the sacrifice you put in, therefore you say, well, I'm not doing it anymore. So
who cares?
That's when you're missing the point. You're missing the outcome you are chasing wasn't the outcome that matters. Right. So it's not about not matter. It's not talking about, I don't care about outcome. I don't care about the outcome that people give me. I want to care about outcome that matters to me, and I need to find that particular outcome. So the outcome could be, like I said, if you're walking with your wife, the outcome is to have a deeper conversation, and whatever. It's not about how fast you walk. It's not about how far you walk. It's not about whatever else that's there that is obvious, right? It's beyond that. So it's second order thinking. What is really doing this is about? For Andre Agassi, if he said he's winning the French Open, right? Where he becoming the number one tennis player, if that's his outcome, it wasn't worth it. But for him to say, well, now that I found my purpose, hey, when I win the becoming the best player, I get this money. This money allows me to fund my charity, and that outcome give him a great joy, and he continue to do it again and again, because now for whatever the funding that he was able to fund his charity, right, give him the satisfaction. Therefore, for him to sacrifice, hey, it's worth it. But for him to say, hey, I'm becoming the number one tennis player in the world, it's not worth it. It's like, that's why he went into this downward spiral.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Oftentimes in the middle way, there's many times now where I win a match and I'm disappointed in myself, because I'm like, because
you come different.
I mean, I didn't challenge myself today. I didn't try to hit the shots that I wanted to work on.
Exactly. The measurement
I called a ball out that maybe was in or something, and I didn't change the call, and I didn't own that integrity. And maybe I was a little too cocky about winning this match easily. I wasn't humble enough. I didn't do my best. There's oftentimes these days when I'm in a match that I know it's an easy win for me, where I'm like, oh, good, I get to work on a lot of things right now. And that's more important. Otherwise, I would have just been bored out of my mind. I'd be like, God, when is this thing over? Like for me now, I'm like, oh, well, I can work on this shot. I can make these mistakes. I can learn this lesson in this match, today, because there's zero consequences, I guess, for trying to keep learning or whatever. But there's matches when I also am beating somebody really easily, where I let myself revert back to old habits, where I'm just like, well, just win the point, like who cares? All you have to do is do this to go win the point, but I'm not challenging myself, and I'm disappointed at the end of the match. I'm like, why? What am I doing? Like, this isn't why I came here to play. I didn't come here to play to win.
That's what I'm saying is, let's say you play against me, right? I suck at tennis because I never play tennis, right? For you to beat me, that's an outcome, but it doesn't give you any fulfillment.
It's zero fulfillment. But I could also, I could work on a lot of.
But the outcome is that you beat me, you beat me like biggest gap ever in history.
Right.
And even that doesn't give you enjoyment.
It doesn't.
Just like you playing against Luca and you beat him. Right. Cool. It doesn't give you enjoyment.
Right, exactly.
But the thing is, that's what I'm saying, is the outcome, right? The outcome of winning or whatever is not the right outcome.
Right. And there's oftentimes when I lose a match and I feel great about myself.
Great,
I'm like, I really tried. I really did. I really lived my values in that match. I did my best, and I'm proud of that. Even though I lost, I don't care. like before in the past, like I was trying to describe at the beginning, like I would have been devastated. I'd have been like, man, I played so fucking well, and I lost that because of this point or that point. I would have sat there and just thought about it I mean, like angrily, just been like, fuck, like, you know, like, and just sat there in my misery on the couch for the next like 3 hours, just like saying the words fuck over and over and over in my mind, you know, of like, and I'm not joking. This is no joke. My wife would see me and she'd be like, you all right? And I'm like, don't talk to me. Just don't talk to me. This is no joke. This is how I am. It's actually really fascinating. You should watch this documentary on Netflix. It's called Breakpoint. It's like a behind the scenes look at the ATP tennis tour, and they go follow around these tennis players and like what they go through in any given match and everything like that. And they also have one now for Formula One, I think, and for golf as well, where like these individual sport athletes that are like, and what they go through every single day and the mental, you know, grind that is their sports. And honestly, like now that I watch this, I can tell people that if just by spending 30 minutes watching like a documentary on them, if they're taking the middle way and they're doing this competitive Buddha shit, or if they're gonna burn out, like it.
Yeah.
Because the ones that are going, I heard this from almost every single one of the competitors in the tennis series. Like winning is so addictive, you know, like I want that feeling so much. And when I don't get it, it just fuels me to like want to go. And I'm like, oh, like that's a problem, right? Like, cause it feels like they're just going to burn out real fast. That's why they only make it to maybe their mid-20s or whatever. And then they start winning and they're like, this is it. This is what I craved so much. Like, you know, this is why I fought so hard, you know, and it's no different than what we were talking about with Agassi, right? Like you could just see that fuel that drove them is not what can sustain them, you know. But then you go look at people like a Roger Federer or a Rafa Nadal or a Novak Djokovic or these people that have been playing for 20 years and they've win at the highest levels all the time. And I've told you the stories before of their mentalities in these tennis matches where they're not thinking about this stuff. Like they're thinking about something completely different. Like what they go to and what they care about on the tennis court has nothing to do with tennis. Like I can guarantee you that. Like they just don't give a fuck, and they can't possibly give a fuck about what's going on that tennis court for them to be able to do what they've done for as long as they've been able to do. Like it's just not possible.
Right, because it's all about sustainment, right? Because if you get to a certain level, the amount of sacrifice you made, it has to have a balance, right? If your sacrifice is more than the fulfillment, you
Right.
cannot continue to do that. When you stop playing, when you stop doing the things that you are, whatever that you do, right? How can you be better than someone who spent more hours? Because we talked about this before. It's like, you know, when you want world class, you're gonna have to spend more hours than the other person, regardless of. It's not about the time. It's about how much hours you put into that particular piece of work. And if you have the affinity for that particular piece of work, you're gonna naturally put more hours in. If you love to play tennis, you're going to be hitting that ball against the garage door or the wall, whatever, into dust. You know, every time you come home from school, you would hit it. If you don't love it, it takes a lot of willpower for you to go out there and practice every night. And even if you can do that for years, eventually you get to the top, you stop doing it. You're not going to continue to even after you got to the top. And that's why people get to the top and then they get, you know, they get beaten by the next comer. And
Right.
it just the cycle continues on and on. And that's the thing is when you have that kind of outcome, your mental stress is high because you are telling yourself that my sacrifice will be worth it. But when it doesn't, you have this confusion and a struggle mentally. And that would basically give you a downward spiral. And then a lot of people get into depressions and they
Yeah.
do certain things. And, you
Yeah.
know, and then the thing is, they are very easily influenced. For example, if you try your really, really hard to become the best, and then somebody say, hey, well, he's not that good. So even a benign comment like that will get to you.
It's
But
a
for
chip on your
somebody,
shoulder, right? It's the
yeah,
old chip on your shoulder, you know, like you got to have external motivation to drive, you know, you got to keep inventing shit to fuel your anger or whatever, you know, that is fueling you forward. And it's not real. I mean, it's just, you're just inventing stuff. But what is real is your values and what it brings out in you every single time. Like that's real. It will always be there. Michael Jordan, it's funny that we started this whole conversation with, you know, the Michael Jordan quote of this Buddhism stuff really works. This guy's the ultimate competitor. This guy's the ultimate win and loss is the only thing that matters kind of dude. I mean, if you've ever seen The Last Dance, did you ever see that documentary, The Last Dance, on him? it's fascinating. It's this ESPN 10-part series they did called The Last Dance about the Chicago Bulls dynasty from like 1990 to 1998 or whatever it was when he retired the second time. Everybody hates him. Like, he was an asshole, but everybody respected how hard that he wanted to work. And like, the only thing that drove him was the desire to never fucking lose. Like, he hated losing. I mean, that's Michael Jordan in a nutshell. And he would do anything he needed to do to win a game. It's funny that he says the Phil Jackson stuff, this Buddhism stuff really works, because Michael Jordan quit basketball. He was the best player in the world, and he was like, this is boring to me. This dude also is a gambling addict. He's also chain smokes cigars now all day long. This guy has a very addictive personality to outcomes. And the reason why he probably said this Buddhism stuff really works is it probably gave him a little bit of a different perspective for the first time in his life, that it gave him some fulfillment around what he was doing that probably fueled his second comeback after he retired the first time. He didn't want to do this shit anymore because he was like, I'm bored. Like, I've been the best. I've done it. I don't care. Like, you know, he was always doing it for the outcomes. And this stuff, Phil Jackson got in his head a little bit about like, well, maybe you can do it for something a little different. You know what I mean? And like, that's why he's like saying, well, this Buddhism stuff really works. Like, you know, for him, I don't think he totally clicked on all of this because he cared about the outcome still as to what, you know, he won or lost. But then again, like, I don't know. You get my point. I think what I was getting at there. Oh, you're on mute, by the way.
Yeah, I think so, because that's the point of having something that aligns to you, meaning whatever aligns to you, the reward that you put, the reward for the effort you put out, it matches like the sacrifice you make. Therefore, it continues to feed itself, it continue to fuel itself. If you don't, right, whatever that you are trying to achieve, when you achieve it, the reward is much less than your effort. Therefore, you have to put in the extra willpower, and willpower depletes. And when it depletes, you can't continue to do it. And that's why a lot of people use the wrong reward as their goal. And when they do that, they can't continue, and eventually they'll burn out. But that's what I'm saying is, you know, having the right goal, the right outcome is the way that you can continue to, it's like a perpetual motion. Without something that generates your
Right.
willpower, it isn't going to continue. So you have to take some willpower from other places, and
Right.
it's not sustainable in that case.
Yep. Michael Jordan ate the frog every day of his life for his career, and until Phil Jackson showed him, you don't have to.
I mean, about you mentioned Michael Jordan, right? You mentioned Andre Agassi. I mean, these guys are similar way, because
Yeah.
they use the outcome of winning, becoming the best, right? It wasn't the outcome that gives them the most fulfillment, and having that give him that almost like a mid-career crisis in a
Yeah.
way,
Both,
when
I mean,
you say
both of them quit their sports. I mean, Andre was going to walk away
exactly.
from tennis when he was like 28, and Michael Jordan was what, in the prime of his career, when he was like, I'm going to go play baseball. You know,
Yeah.
like I mean, talk about somebody that just wants to be motivated by, you know, losing and you know, trying to do new things. I mean, anyway, I think we beat it. The horse is dead. But either way, you know, the title, this Buddhism stuff really works. Is it's funny, but at the same time, it's also
Yeah, is these things, I think, you know, it's a, you have to understand that, you know, a lot of these explanations and reasons, it's an oversimplifications of our observations of what we see around us.
Hmm?
And so the Buddhism stuff, and you know, whatever that we tell ourselves we must damn, or whatever the
right.
case may be, it's, you know, it's, we have to simplify our explanation for people to understand just a little. But because of the oversimplification, it's not an exact. And so it's basically more like a decoy in a way. And so we have to take this into consideration. Yes, the point is
Right.
that I can't explain it to you in a few words. I can't explain it to you in a book, because it's going to take more than that to
Right.
explain everything that has
You got to
to
go live your
be
life.
nuanced, or whatever. And so we have to take something that we understand and say, well, this is an oversimplification. If you can start with this, like, eventually you can understand more and more. So when you're talking about like the beaver must dance, you say, well, beaver is an animal. I'm a human. I have more complexity. Blah blah. Oh, that's what I'm saying. Same thing with this book. This book is saying, hey, the Buddhism, the middle way, right? They just made it up, the word. I mean,
Right. Yeah,
right? They
it's
just
an
made up
explanation for
something
the
to
same
say,
thing that we're
hey,
talking about.
yeah, and simplify in a way. Say, if you follow these things, to me,
I'm actually
that
curious.
is essentially a representation of what we just talked about for the last hour.
Right. I don't really know what the defined definition of the middle way is. I don't think this is a good definition. The middle path between extreme asceticism on one hand and sensual indulgence on it. It doesn't matter. Like, once
I
again,
mean, it's accurate, right? It's
right.
not
Yeah,
accurate because they're trying to simplify to give you an answer. And that's, to me, is both a good thing and a bad thing, because if you take it literally, right, then you're gonna be wrong.
what the hell does asceticism mean? Severe self-discipline and avoidance of all forms of indulgence, typically for religious
It's
reasons.
the extremities.
Right. It's going from extreme to extreme, and winning and losing is extreme. Anyway, all right. I think the question we can leave with everyone, is what would competition look like for you if you detach from the outcome? Is what I was thinking after this one.
But the thing
I think it should be a different question. It should be not detached from the outcome, detached from the wrong outcome.
It's about the right outcome. You have
Right,
to
yeah,
find
yeah.
the right outcome for the kind of effort you do.
Right, exactly. So it's not necessarily detaching from an outcome, it's detaching from the wrong outcome.
Detaching it from the wrong outcome.
Right, exactly. Which wrong and right
better,
is only determined by you.
Better, because even if you detach from the wrong outcome, I mean, you're gonna attach to a different wrong outcome.
Agreed.
So,
Yeah.
so I think to make it even more accurate, you have to say
We
attach to the right outcome that matters to you.
Well, we actually did that reflection, if you remember, with the book attached. I think the title of that one was, do you remember which?
Can we search for it? Can you search?
65. Oh, I don't think we can search on this thing. I just remember my title of that book, that reflection was like attached to your value. Oh, here it is.
86.
Attached to your values, right? Like,
Right.
So it's the outcomes are attached to your values.
Even more impeccable.
Exactly. Well, great conversation as usual, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Any final thoughts?
Like I say, attached to the right outcome, attached to values.
Yep, agreed. Wholeheartedly agreed.
Right.